Shalom, hello, and welcome to our online Haaretz mini-fest within the online edition of this year's Jerusalem Film Festival. In a series of interviews, we, meaning Haaretz journalists, will be talking to the directors and producers of some of the most intriguing films in the festival. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Brian Fogel, who is the director of the movie The Dissident. Hi, Brian.
Hi.
First of all, congratulations on a very powerful movie. I followed the Khashoggi's murder since the initial reports and still learned a lot from the film. It captures very well the personal aspects as well as the politics and new shocking details from the investigation. Can you share with us when and why did you decide to dive into his story? It's not a trivial choice to confront a whole kingdom with such deep pockets and influence, and as shown in this film, no red lines.
Well, following Icarus that had, garnered the Academy Award in March of 2018, I was really kind of seeking what my next project was going to be, looking for a story that I felt could have global impact, that would meet criteria that I had set in my mind: human rights, freedom of press, journalism, a story that could perhaps create change and bring awareness. And as I followed the Khashoggi story, as I think so many in the world did, following his disappearance on October 2nd from the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, I was captivated by the story as the crime that was unfolding was so heinous. And as I read more about Jamal and his writing, I saw that this was a moderate journalist who was advocating for freedom of press and freedom of speech in his country. And for doing that, he was literally murdered. My ears perked up, and I thought to myself that this could possibly be my next film if the people that had been so impacted by his murder, Omar Abdulaziz, his fiancée Hatice Cengiz, and of course the Turkish investigators, agreed to participate and allow me to document their journey and hopefully to bring Jamal's story better to light and into a global view.
So I guess the next question that comes to mind is, were you pressured or threatened at all by anyone in Saudi Arabia or elsewhere while working on this movie?
I have not been through, in the making of the film. I have not received any threats, and I don't believe that as a journalist, as a filmmaker who sets out to shed light into a story, that one should feel threatened. If someone like me is under threat, then that means that all storytellers around the world are under threat. And I'm very optimistic and believe in my own country's principles and democracy, and that I'm safe, and hope that I will remain safe.
Well, you say that storytellers should not feel threatened, but I guess Jamal was also a storyteller, and of course he was threatened. So you say that there were absolutely no efforts that you are aware of to kind of sabotage the film in some kind of way?
Well, I think, the film following Sundance, we had a wonderful response. Even Hillary Clinton was there in the audience, and we failed to receive any offers from any of the global streamers or global distributors. So that led us to seek independent distribution. We have an independent distributor with Lev in Israel. Of course, with COVID, I'm not quite sure the exact plans at this point, and independent distributors around the globe. But You know, what I saw was that the Saudi business interests and money and the desire for subscriber growth or business in the kingdom overpowered the human rights abuses and accountability. You know, sadly, that is a reality of the world that we are living in.
Yeah, I did see in your previous interviews that you said that major streamers did not want to purchase the film because they prefer, as you said, the Saudis' money and markets over human rights. But how can you be sure, you know, that's the case? Maybe they just didn't like it. Did anyone say anything to explain the situation?
You know, I think it goes without say. What we have seen is many Hollywood companies accepting Saudi investment and Saudi money. We've seen just recently, 2 weeks ago, there was a deal announced with Netflix and a major Saudi production company, which, you know, of course, you know, it involves the kingdom because that's how everything works in that country. So, you know, I think it goes without say that the risk analysis from these companies would prefer to continue the economic and business ties rather than to put that in jeopardy to shed light on a human rights violation.
Well, it's their loss. We're happy to, you know, have it screened for an Israeli audience. It looks like senior officials in Turkey who were leading the investigation were happy to cooperate and share information. How do you see Turkey's role in the events? I mean, we know the country under Erdogan is far from being a champion of free press or human rights. Were they really trying to solve this, you think, or were they using the atrocity in their own battle against the Saudis, or maybe they were just trying to improve their international image?
Look, I can't speak as to Turkey's political intentions. What I can speak to is that they're the only country in the world that has fought relentlessly to hold Saudi Arabia accountable for this murder, be that criminal charges, attempting to bring his killers to justice, filing a criminal court, asking other countries for assistance, bringing you know, the nature of the crime and portions of the transcript public. I mean, you know, so I can't ruminate on their political intentions, but what I can say is that Turkey, regardless of, you know, their own politics, has been the only country in the world that has sought to bring justice and accountability for this murder.
The film details the involvement of the Israeli cyber company NSO. Did you try to interview anyone there? Did they refuse? What happened behind the scene regarding NSO?
You know, I did not. And the reason being is that when you have conclusive evidence, right, it would have been the same thing of going to try to get an interview from Mohammed bin Salman. There was no need to do that, right? I mean, all that you know is what the statement's going to be, which is, you know, I didn't do it. I don't know what, you know, 6 million people in my government do every day, but, you know, this was not me. We already heard many statements from NSO regarding their statements in the fallout of the Khashoggi murder. And also other investigations against them, lawsuits against them. So what was the point when the evidence speaks for itself? And so that was really not of consequence to me.
What do you think Israelis should know about the role of NSO in the story? And, does something needs to be done about NSO from an Israeli point of view? I saw that one of their, as you said, they issued several comments on the issue, and I saw that one of them was that they only sell the equipment to governments, and so they think that makes it better.
But,
so what would you say to Israelis about that? Should we hold them accountable in some way?
Well, of course they should be held accountable. I mean, the idea that you only sell cybersecurity hacking software, which can literally be used to murder people, which has been the case in many countries where this has been sold, is not a defense. Of course, we know many countries around the world are in violations of human rights, do not allow freedom of press, freedom of journalism. So the idea that this is safe in government hands is ludicrous. And, each one of these contracts has to be ultimately approved by the Israeli Defense Ministry. Now, of course, there are intelligence gains from Israel in selling this cybersecurity software, because Israel is able to gain information on both allies and possible states that they view not friendly to Israel. So I can understand it from that perspective, but there certainly has to be better controls on this, better accountability. There have been cases of this abuse in Mexico, in Ghana, in myriads of countries where NSO has sold Pegasus, including the Kingdom, where this software has not been used for good purposes, but has been used to either gain information on political rivals, to hack the phones of journalists or dissidents, or in the case of Jamal Khashoggi and Omar Abdelaziz, to hack their phones and ultimately commit murder.
After learning all these details on phone surveillance, do you feel safe to use your own? And what would you recommend to others, and especially political activists, of course?
Well, what you see in the phone is Citizen Lab. John Scott Railton and Bill Marzak and their organization out of Toronto has been pretty effective in finding Pegasus. There are other cybersecurity experts that can too, but they're only as good as their own intelligence, and that is able to change by the moment. It's just like seeking cancer or disease. You can only test for the disease that you can only find the cancer that you're looking for. And that is the reality of software like Pegasus. As it mutates into different versions and it gets more and more sophisticated, it becomes harder to identify. So, I don't know. It's a constant cat and mouse game, and that is what I perceive it will continue to be. So much as any computer hack, or exploiting any, opening into an operating system, so on and so forth.
Another part of the movie which I found very interesting and can even relate to as a journalist is how the Saudis manipulated social media conversations to delegitimize dissidents. So what do you think should be Twitter's responsibility in all of this? Or what else could be done to ensure that we're having an authentic conversation online?
Look, to Twitter's credit, they did remove tens of thousands of accounts. They have increased security on the platform. They have been looking in ways to better monitor false accounts, and what you see in the film, the flies, as Omar Abdelaziz and the bees in The Dissident are combating. However, this is the problem also with a platform that is allowing freedom of speech and not and not requiring somebody to show their VPN, show where they're located, have a real name, verify that name, etc. What also protects the platform is what hurts the platform. So it's very, very complicated. And of course, Twitter is at fault, but at the same time, this is the same platform that has given life to the Arab Spring, that gives life to dissidents all over the world. So it's very complicated how to exactly do this. I've actually had conversations with Jack Dorsey, and I know that this is a priority for him and the company. So I can only hope that they will continue to try to fix these problems within their platform.
Definitely. And lastly, I'm sure you've been following the recent Abraham Accords between Israel and Gulf states. Most of the news coverage around here, which I'm not sure if you know, unfortunately focuses on new tourism possibilities. So what can you say maybe to Israelis who are watching us today on the importance of human rights in international relations? Is there room for morality and diplomacy at all?
Listen, this is the problems that we are facing on a global level, that money and economic interests, be it tourism, be it investment, have shown to take precedent over dictatorships, authoritarian regimes, or other countries that choose to operate like this. I mean, all you had to do is look at China and how many companies and countries continue to do business with them despite this regime and their horrendous record of human rights abuses, including the Uyghurs and so many others. So this is something that we're facing as a world, and Israel is no different. While ultimately, a Saudi-Israeli peace is probably best for ongoing Middle East relationships and the safety of Israel. There also needs to be accountability as to these sort of human rights violations and what is going on in the kingdom. I don't think you should have one without the other.
Well, at least due to your movie now, people can be more informed, which is definitely a first step to be.
That's what I hope.
To hold these countries more accountable. So thank you very much, Brian, for this interview and for a wonderful movie.
And thank you, and I hope many Israelis will see the film, as it affects especially your part of the world and your country in particular. Israel has been a global leader in cyber hacking software and so many other things, and so much of this film is very, very relevant to Israel, and I hope that many will get to see it, learn from it, and perhaps demand action from your government.
Amen to that. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.